So Facebook dropped a bit of a bombshell this morning. What is it? It's the 18th of February. It's Thursday. I'm recording this. Facebook news ban stops Australians from sharing or viewing Australian and international news content. So I thought, just as a bit of an experiment, I would try sharing this particular article on Facebook. And I've just got this message down the bottom here. Something's gone wrong. We're working on it to get it fixed as soon as we can. Which is a vague message considering, they've blocked it. It's not an error. But anyway, is this a good thing or is it a bad thing? I'm sure there's people out there for whom it's a bad thing, but I kind of got two thoughts on this. So the first one is Facebook's just a bad place to get your news in the first place. There was this TED Talk published back in March 2011, so this is like 10 years ago now, where the speaker talks about filter bubbles and how Facebook and Google and online sources like that will skew to show you articles that it thinks you like. So what tends to happen is whichever opinion you have on things and whichever way you lean politically or whatever, you'll just keep seeing those sorts of articles and you don't get any differing opinions. You look at the last few years, there's been a real split. People are either heading in this direction or they're heading in that direction, and there doesn't seem to be any middle ground anymore. And these filter bubbles are probably a big contributor to that. We tend to just get fed stuff that reinforces our own worldview, and our opinions on things just heads more and more radical in each direction, I suppose. So if this in some way helps arrest that a little bit, I think that's a good thing, because I think these filter bubbles are a real problem in terms of society as a whole. But the second opinion on that, if we just, step down a bit and I'll get off my high horse about that one a little bit, I've been saying this for a long time. If you're relying on other news sources, TV, radio, newspaper, whatever, to talk about your business or your event or whatever else, you're doing it wrong. Like, write your own story, record your own podcast, shoot your own video. Between Facebook and YouTube and all of the other platforms out there, you have the power to publish your own material. You don't need traditional news outlets to tell your story for you. That's thinking that belongs 20 years ago. So if you think this is going to affect you in a business point of view, rethink what you're doing with social media platforms and that sort of thing. Publish your own stuff. You don't need to be relying on somebody else to do it for you anymore anyway. Now, how this plays out in terms of the traditional media outlets versus Facebook and Google, this is fascinating to watch from the sidelines. It's real, grab yourself a bowl of popcorn material. But I saw a post this morning, or somebody commented this morning, about how disastrous this was for the arts community. Yeah, maybe it is, but if you're in the arts community, publishing your own stuff is probably part of what you're doing anyway. Like, if you're playing music, record it and record your own videos and put it up there. If you've got an event coming up, publish your own event, produce your own material. You shouldn't be relying on somebody else to tell your story. You've got editorial control. So, yeah, it's not the end of the world. Like, okay, you can't share news articles on Facebook anymore as of today until they resolve this issue, or it's all a bit of game of chess at the moment. But it's definitely not Facebook pulling out of Australia. It's not the end of anything like that. So if you were relying on sharing news stories as part of whatever you were trying to achieve, well, you need to find a plan B. But I think for most of us, it doesn't matter. Anyway, they're my thoughts for the day. Talk to you next time.